Hello and welcome to Black Friday's 5 tactical squash tips. Now, Black Friday is all about getting the most for the least, and what these tips are about are getting the most benefit from the least amount of effort. Doesn't mean you have to make no effort. You will have to make a little bit of mental effort, but these are the tips that I think will help you change the way you play without doing any actual training. Now, as you can see, this is not my usual setup. That's because I'm currently walking around on crutches. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch the views, and then we're going to come back to me for a final summary. So let's get started. For these tips, we're going to be using the Canary Wharf 2017 quarterfinal between Nick Matthew and Cameron Pilley. It comes from the Danjerus Thyme YouTube channel, and I'd like to thank them for allowing me to use it. The link to their channel is in the text description. It's a sideways view, and I thought that we could use this because it's always interesting to see things from a different perspective. Tip number 1. Make the first rally as long and as hard as you can. To do that, you'll need to make sure that you are properly prepared before you start playing, and that means having a really good heat up. Not warm up, remember, you need to be hot and sweating before you even hit the ball. Squash is a more mental game than many people realise. And by making the first rally as long and as hard as possible, you're telling your opponent, I am going to fight for every single point in this match. If you want to beat me, you're going to have to work really, really hard. By professional standards, this rally wasn't particularly long, but it was quite long for the very, very first rally. And you can see the players here commenting on it. Tip 2. Serve differently against different players. One of the biggest differences between professional squash and amateur club squash is obviously the speed and the accuracy, but the serve is a huge difference. In professional squash, you often see very boring serves. The objective here is to simply stop your opponent from being able to hit a winner. In club squash, the objective is to try to win the point as quickly and as early as possible. And that's because most club players don't play very good service returns. They are not able to adapt to different types of serves. So you have two choices, and they depend on your opponent. The better your opponent, the more like professional serves you should be playing, high and wide and boring. The lower your opponent's standard, the more attacking and varied your serves can be. Tip 3. Volley 80% of your service returns. Better to start a little bit further away from the service box and step forward or back as necessary. But remember, keep your swing short and simple. Try to play mostly straight service returns, but do vary them if you can. If the ball's going to hit the sidewall, the sooner you make contact with it after it hits the sidewall, the better. Remember, tip 2 was about how boring the professional serves are. Well, that means that they can stand a little bit closer to the sidewall when returning serve. You can't if you're a club player. You need to stand a little bit further away to be able to adapt to unusual serves. You're not trying to add interest to the serve, you're trying to block it and make it as difficult as possible for your opponent. Make sure your service return hits above the cut line, otherwise it won't get to the back. When it comes to volleying service returns, short, simple, controlled swings work best. Tip 4. Get your crosscourts wide. It can be hard to use a professional match when we're talking about crosscourts because they don't hit that many. Maybe 20% of their shots, maybe less. When you hit a straight drive, you can immediately see if it's a good one. You can see how tight it is to the wall, and you can see how deep it is. With cross courts, that distinction is less clear because it often depends on where your opponent is. But in general, you want your cross courts to hit the side wall just behind the service box and about a racket's height from the floor. That target area makes it quite difficult to volley if the opponent is on the tee, but also means that it's not so wide that it comes back to them. How hard you hit it depends on your accuracy. If you can hit the ball very hard and very accurately, then that's perfect. If you can't hit it very hard and very accurately, slow it down a little bit so that you've got more accuracy than power. Some cross courts don't need to hit the sidewall, so if your opponent is at the front of the court, then you might not want to hit that sidewall because that will give them a chance. Other times, you want to hit the ball very wide so that they can't volley. But in general, club players don't hit their cross courts wide enough, and they don't cause their opponents enough problems. Also, a lot of club players hit cross court because they are out of position, and if they hit the ball straight, they're worried that the ball would come back to them and they would get a stroke called against them. Tip 5. Go short, but not for winners. There's a very clear distinction when watching professionals play when they hit the ball to the front or the middle and when they go for winners. By going short, they're looking to rush their opponent. They're looking to force a weak return. They're looking to put their opponent under pressure. When they go for a winner, they really go for a winner. But club squash is a little bit different. It's more black and white. It's either to the back or it's going short for a winner. And that sounds effective, and at lower levels it is, but the better and better you get, the less effective it becomes. You need to develop the ability to hit the ball short, but without trying to hit a winner. You're trying to rush your opponent. You're trying to get a weaker return. Don't think just in front or back. There's a lot of length to that court. And if you've got good variation in width and good variation in length, then you'll maximise the amount of work that your opponent has to do. Here's a quick bonus. When marking or going for winners, look at where the second bounce is. You're about to watch a rally where Cameron Pilley goes for a winner, and it seems that the audience think he's hit a winner. But the reality is that the second bounce came very near his foot, and actually Nick Matthew got a stroke. So if you're marking, don't think that just because it hits the nick, it's automatically a winner. Consider where the second bounce is. Well, there you go, the 5 tactical top tips for Black Friday, November 2019. If you implement them, they can make a huge difference to your game. Thanks for watching, and remember, do something every single day to improve your squash. No matter how small it is, do something. See ya.